On this week's Vaticano, Pope Francis engages these young people, answering some of the most curious questions about his pontificate. Also, the Pope and this Lebanese cardinal continue to appeal for peace in war-ravaged Syria. This American bishop, who heads a commission for immigration, hopes for a comprehensive reform of legislation in the U.S. Also, Paraguay remembers its most celebrated son, and the Pontifical Academy for Life is seeking a network of friends around the world. All this and a former NFL quarterback speaks of his faith and his joy at seeing the Pope coming up. These 7,000 students, alumni, and teachers from Jesuit schools packed the Paul VI audience hall earlier this month. Pope Francis met with them, opening up the mic to the children for questions and anything else that came to mind.
Caro Papa Francesco, in classe tutti preghiamo per te con l'Ave Maria, perché sappiamo che sei devoto alla Madonna. Se avrai dei momenti difficili, ricordati che è stato Dio ad assegnarti questo incarico e Lui crede in te. Sappiamo che il lavoro di Papa è difficile, ma tu te la stai cavando bene.
Surrounded by eager children, Pope Francis forewent his prepared speech. He fielded their questions, transforming the encounter into a true dialogue.
Io sono un ragazzo che cerca di credere. Cerco di essere fedele. Però ho delle difficoltà. A volte mi vengono dei dubbi. Ti volevo chiedere qualche parola per sostenermi in questa crescita e sostenere tutti i ragazzi come me.
Non avere paura dei fallimenti.
Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid when you fall. In the art of walking, the important thing isn't not falling. The important thing is not to stay on the ground, but to get up right away and continue to walk forward. This is a wonderful thing. It's a daily job. It is walking as a human being. On the other hand, it's boring to walk alone. Walk in community, with friends, with people that love us. This will help us to reach our goal.
Alla quale noi dobbiamo arrivare.
And several questions addressed how to live amid the crisis of today.
In questo momento è un momento in crisi. E la crisi.
The entire world in this moment is suffering from a profound crisis. And the crisis in itself is not a bad thing. It's true that the crisis doesn't make us suffer. But we all, especially the young people, must know how to read the crisis. What does this crisis mean? What can I do to help society out of this crisis? What is in crisis today is the value of the human person, and we have to defend the human person. Today the person doesn't count for anything. What counts is power and money. But God gave the world, all of creation, to the person, to man and woman, that they would take care of it, and not to money. The person is in crisis because the person today is a slave, and we have to free ourselves from the economic structures that enslave us.
From the mouths of the smallest came very direct questions about the Pope's election, to which he responded, obviously entertained.
Francesco, vorrei fare il Papa.
Una persona che ha voglia di fare il Papa, non si
A person who wishes to be Pope is a person that doesn't love himself very much. I did not wish to be Pope.
Va bene? Vieni.
Perché tu hai rinunciato a tutte le ricchezze di un Papa, come un appartamento lussuoso oppure una macchina enorme?
Credo che
I don't think it's an issue of riches. For me, the problem is one of personality. I need to live with people. If I lived alone, a little isolated, it wouldn't do me any good. This question was also posed to me not too long ago by a professor. Why don't you go live in the pontifical apartments? I answered him, listen, professor, it's for psychiatric reasons. It's my personality. Anyway, the pontifical apartment isn't that luxurious. Take it easy. The problem is, that I can't live alone.
Anche l'appartamento, quello non è tanto lussuoso, è tranquilla, ma non posso vivere da solo.
Quando ha deciso di diventare non papa, ma parroco, di diventare gesuita, come è fatto? Non le è stato difficile abbandonare o lasciare la famiglia, gli amici?
Sempre è difficile, sempre. Per me
It is always difficult. Always. For me it was. It's never easy. A person lives beautiful moments and God helps him, gives him joy. But there are also difficult moments in which you feel alone, dry, without interior happiness. Those are the dark moments of the soul. No one should think that in life they won't encounter difficulties. But what we have to do is move forward, trusting in the Lord. With God, everything is possible.
Andare avanti con forza e con fiducia nel Signore. Col Signore tutto si può.
So went the most candid dialogue yet in the still young pontificate of Pope Francis. Pope Francis' calls for an end to the conflict in Syria are becoming more and more frequent. Here he was on June 8th in a high-profile meeting with the president of Italy, Giorgio Napolitano, the first between the two who live within a mile of each other. During their talks, they voiced their mutual concern for the deterioration of conflicts in the Middle East, including Syria. This Lebanese cardinal was in Rome recently for meetings about curbing forced migrations. He is particularly adamant about advocating for peace.
Cosa vogliono della guerra in Siria?
So, what do they want out of the war in Syria? With this huge cost of destruction, this great uprooting of peoples, these victims. Where is this all leading? No one answers this. But we know that all that is happening in the Middle East has its origins in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is not being resolved because there are certain powers that do not want to apply the resolutions made by the Security Council. So, internal wars arise between Muslims, and now the great regional and international conflict is between Sunnis and Shiites. The events in Syria are part of this. The Church is making the continued appeal. Stop sending money and weapons to the belligerent, and sit down to roundtable discussions seeking a political solution. The Church must always make an appeal to the international conscience. It is inadmissible to continue to have innocent victims that have nothing to do with either the regime or the opposition. No one has the right to kill. No one has the right to destroy life for no reason. The price is very high for all solutions. The Church needs to continue to make appeals to move the nearly dead consciences of the international community.
La Chiesa continua a fare appelli e muovere le coscienze quasi morti della comunità internazionale.
Both at his audiences and Angelus addresses, since he was elected, the Holy Father has also called clearly for an end to the violence. In public and private, his position is unwavering.
The Pope's thoughts go in this moment also to the Christian communities that live in Syria and all of the Middle East. The Church supports these, her members, in that particular difficulty today. They have the great task of continuing to make Christianity present in the region in which it was born. And it is our commitment to foster the permanence of this testimony. The participation of all of the Christian community in this great work of assistance and aid is imperative in the present moment. And let us all think, all of us, about Syria. How much suffering, how much poverty, how much pain of Jesus that suffers, who is poor, who is chased out of his motherland. It is Jesus. That is a mystery, but it is our Christian mystery. We see Jesus suffering in the people of the much-loved nation of Syria.
After this short break, we're back with Bishop Wester supporting comprehensive immigration reform on behalf of the U.S. bishops. Welcome back. This is Vaticano.
The current situation is a tough one because we have about 11.5 million people living in the shadows. And these are people who are good people. They're people who are family-oriented. Most of them are religious people. They work hard in our country. They pay into our system. And they provide labor that we need in our country. So there's a lot of good things you could say about them. But the problem is our system has, over the years, just become incapable of dealing with the reality of immigration. So we really need to fix the system, if you will.
A comprehensive immigration reform bill continues to be debated in the U.S. Congress, and it has bipartisan support. The U.S. bishops support just reform that would reward tax-paying, law-abiding residents with citizenship. They see that the nation is at a crossroads.
I think we're at a time now where the political will and the political winds are such that we can really make comprehensive immigration reform happen. And it's based in the fact that we are a country of laws, that we respect the law, and we want laws that are humane and laws that are workable and laws that will represent the situation we're in right now in the United States. I think would be ideal would be to regularize the status of those who are already here. It would be to formulate a bill that would have border protection in it and also have humane provisions that would allow for people to regularize their status, for families to stay together, a bill that would recognize the sanctity of the human family, the importance of the human family, and that would give merit to the human family so that families who have been fragmented can come back together in our country. And I think it would also include provisions for temporary worker visas so that workers can come into our country, work for a season, and then go home again, and do so safely without becoming victims of human trafficking or dying in the desert or whatever. That there would be some kind of a biometric identification card that would allow them to come and go freely, and also, frankly, it would help us as a country not to have to spend so much time on good people and to be able to focus on those who really are, do need to be apprehended and taken care of so that they're not a threat to our society. So that would be the ideal.
For its part, the Vatican is also lending its support.
We would hope that those in power might make more favorable legislation for these people who are seeking a better life, who leave their nations not with particular joy, leaving behind their friends, families, and homes. It is always going to be something that hurts.
And one of the largest Catholic organizations working in the sector is the International Catholic Migration Commission. It sees that the issue must be met head-on.
Our world is facing a real fundamental change, and we will need all people who are in our societies to be actively part of societies, and that includes also the political field. Now, this is a process. This is not something that you turn the switch and things are done. But it is a process which will lead people to become more integrated and interactive in society on a regular basis. The more we can help that we can help that or make that effective and a reality, the more we will appease society. The longer we continue the debate on regular, irregular, criminal, non-criminal, that is confusing. It's not that criminals and other people that really do not want to build and contribute to society should not be followed up, but there's laws for that. What is needed is to give a chance to those who really mean to come in, to give their own children a better education, to contribute to society, and let us open those doors for them, and we need them.
This year, the nation of Paraguay is in celebration. It's the 200th anniversary of the Republic and also the 25th of both Blessed John Paul II's visit and the canonization of the nation's patron. That's why the Paraguayan embassy to the Holy See was hosting this event. They were remembering the imprint of the Jesuit missions on South America and the figure of Saint Roque González.
Father St. Roque González is a model of a champion of the faith. In the words of Blessed John Paul II, during the Year of Faith, he is a witness for all of us. His is a testimony not only of the first evangelization, but also of how an evangelization in our times should be, with courageous people, with heart, dedicated and capable of changing history.
This exposition recounts how the original Jesuit missionaries were able to create social, economic, and civil infrastructure in Paraguay. They worked to evangelize the Indians and transmit their experience of living real God to them.
The experience of St. Ignatius and his companions, among them St. Francis Xavier, is an experience of the mystery of the incarnation of Christ. Christ is not just an idea, not just a formula. Christ is the Word of God, made flesh in the womb of the Virgin Mary.
Pope Francis himself has spoken of how the missionary spirit of the Society of Jesus was decisive when he decided to become a Jesuit.
What
I've always liked about the Society of Jesus is its missionary spirit. I wanted to be a missionary. When I studied philosophy and theology, I wrote a letter to the Minister General, Father Arupe, in which I asked him to send me to Japan or any other place. But he told me, with great charity, "You have suffered a lung illness, and I think this work is too hard for you." So I stayed in Buenos Aires. Thinking about this, Father Arupe was very nice with me because he didn't tell me that I wasn't holy enough to become a missionary. He was kind and charitable.
The ambassador of Paraguay doesn't hide the happiness he feels at having a Jesuit and South American Pope.
It is a great joy to have a South American Pope, Pope Francis. He's a pope that has not only captivated the Roman people, but the entire world, with his simplicity and humility, and his Jesuit and Franciscan spirit at the same time. Just as the evangelization in the southern hemisphere was, in the region of the La Plata River, the great contribution was of the Franciscans and Jesuits in all of the first evangelization in our history. And this pope brings all of that together.
On June 12th, Pope Francis entered what is now a commonplace for the Wednesday general audience, a packed St. Peter's Square. He spoke on an expression that arose from the Second Vatican Council. It speaks of the vocation of believers.
Dear brothers and sisters, today I would like to make a reflection on another term from the Second Vatican Council that refers to the Church as the people of God. I will do it based on simple questions. What does people of God mean? How do we become a part of it? What is its law, its mission, its end? God is not the property of any nation. Rather, it is He who calls all people, without distinction, and in Him we are all one. We become part of this people by way of a new birth, baptism, and through the faith, which is the gift of God that we must always cultivate. His law is certainly love, which means recognizing God as our only Lord and our neighbor as true brother. The mission of this people is to bring hope and God's salvation to the world and to be a sign of His love for all. Its end is the kingdom of God, that He already started on earth, but that we must expand until its consummation, when Christ, our life, is manifested.
Vida nuestra.
Stay with us. In a few moments, we'll be back with a new initiative for all people from the Pontifical Academy for Life. You're watching Vaticano. The Pontifical Academy for Life is developing a network of friends. They've just launched an online initiative called Friends for Life.
These are people who are interested in bioethics. They can be students or professors or intellectuals, academics as it were, but also people who are just interested in promoting life. We all have the experience of learning new, exciting things and realizing, wow, I didn't know that before. Like, for instance, Aristotle says, no one would want to live without friends. And maybe you've heard that phrase, maybe you didn't know Aristotle said it, but in any case, you might be surprised to realize that that's true about yourself. And the truth always brings this, what we call the O factor, where you go, oh, I didn't know that. And so as an initiative to try to spread more about bioethics, about the truth of life and the promotion of life, we have this opportunity to register or sign up as friends of life, friends of the Pontifical Academy for Life, and receive on occasion different information, new and exciting, because nothing is as new and exciting as life itself, right?
So there are different ways.
Among those plodding the streets of Rome as the tourist season heated up was the Gannon family, with Dad, Rich, ex-NFL quarterback, and Catholic.
And our faith is important to us, and this is a chance for us to be close to the Holy Father, and also a chance to visit so many beautiful cathedrals and basilicas and churches. We've lost count. I mean, every corner there's a new. I think the thing that has been so impressive to me about Rome is that there's so many beautiful churches and basilicas at literally every street corner. And we tried to visit them all. So we've really had just a wonderful visit, and we're not looking forward to going home tomorrow. I was really excited, when Pope Francis, when he became the Pope. I went to a Jesuit private boys' high school in Philadelphia. That was, it was a Jesuit school, and so to have a Jesuit become a Pope was kind of special to me. Having been trained by the Jesuits in high school, so it was really a special experience. And then, not only that, but his first words about asking for a blessing and asking for prayers, and also his recognition of Pope Benedict and his humble beginnings as our Pope and Holy Father. So I was really excited for Pope Francis. I think as we've been talking a lot about the role of the laity in the church, and what is our responsibility as Christian men and women. And I think so often as Catholics we just rely on our church. We rely on our priests to kind of do the lion's share of the work, and that's really it's not possible. And we need to take more of an active role in evangelizing and witnessing and sharing our faith. And so I try to do that in small ways. When I get the opportunity to speak and share my faith, I try to do that. But certainly it is a responsibility, I think, that we all have as Catholics.